Greetings, choreographers. It's Morris Partee with Scroll Trench Audio with another couple of tips to help you make your music edits as flawless as they can possibly be. So here is tip number one, and that is before you start editing up a song, determine its tempo. And that's a very quick, small tidbit, and yet it's 90% of what will help you make your edits quick, easy, and flawless. So let me explain this a little bit more. In the early days of music, when people were still recording onto tape, the tempo of a song, you had to rely on your drummer. And drummers were notorious for either being terrific at holding a steady tempo or being lousy at holding a tempo. And needless to say, drummers who could hold a tempo steady got a lot more gigs than ones who could not. So in the early days of music recording to tape, you could edit a piece all day long and it will never line up tempo-wise. And that's just the human element. It's very hard to stay precisely with an exact time throughout. However, in modern commercial music recording, virtually everything is locked to a very precise tempo. One of the most common tempos for pop music is 128 beats per minute. But there are many other common tempos. You might find 132 BPM, 145 BPM, 83 BPM, 121.5 BPM. There do exist some pieces of music that have very strange tempo numbers. But most of the time, it's going to be an even integer like 127, 128, 129, the 83, 81, 82, all very common tempos. So here's the advantage. Once you determine exactly what that tempo is, you can lock it in on virtually any audio software today, and this makes editing a breeze compared to trying to align every waveform up by eye. I'll have to do a future demo where I show you exactly how easy it can be and how transitions become a true breeze once you determine the tempo and lock it in. And so that brings me to tip number two, and that is anytime you do an edit on a piece of music, listen for exactly what instruments are ringing through before and after the cut point. So let me explain that one a little bit more in depth. Say there is a cymbal crash just before the cut point, but the part of the music that you want to cut to has no cymbal ringing. If you put those two pieces of music together, it will never sound right because you'll have the ringing of a cymbal suddenly and abruptly end. Now, there are many ways to get around such a transition issue. So here's a little bit more of advanced technique, and that is you could find the sound of a cymbal and start it where the cymbal starts, let it ring over the cut point, and pick up that ringing cymbal after the edit point. Now that might be a little bit more of too advanced technique for most choreographers to get into, but those kinds of details are the reasons why, of course, every Squirrel Trench audio edit is 100% flawless. So those are my two new tips for making your music edits flawless. I hope this leads you to a very wonderful season of dance.